Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video I'll be reviewing a new G-Wagon. We're going to be talking about the G-Wagon market because things have shifted quite a bit. Before we get in this video, huge shout out and thank you to the Mercedes-Benz of Salt Lake for giving me some time with this G-Wagon. I'll include a link to their website in the description down below. If you have any questions, just ask for Dylan. Also include a link to my car buying guide. Let's get into it. Under the hood, we have a turbo 3-liter inline-6 that goes through a 9-speed automatic transmission. Power outputs are 443 horsepower and then 413 pound-feet of torque, with average fuel economy being about 18 miles per gallon, so it's more economical than the previous G-Wagon. Before we move forward with this review, I do want to mention if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So I've already reviewed the new G550, so I'm just going to kind of go over some of the new details on it in this review, but not everything. So the whole front end design's pretty much the same. They did change the bumper. You don't need as big of openings because not as much airflow needed for this new powertrain. And then with the new G-Wagon, you've got a 360 camera, which they put the camera there at the bottom of the bumper. Very interesting choice, being an off-road vehicle, but let's be real here, nobody takes these off-road. Now I picked out this particular one because it's got the new monoblock wheels, or monoblock design rather, and I don't know, I'm still kind of like conflicted on this wheel design. They also had this on the G63, so here's the G63 with it. This is a 24. Just kind of a weird looking wheel design, if you ask me. Some of you might like it. I noticed this says Shackle approved. They've got a bunch of heritage branding now to show that the G-Wagon's tough because it's been through Shackle. Anyways, you got that signature boxy design the G-Wagon's known for. Still independent front suspension, solid rear axle. And of course, the G-Wagon still has the spare tire carrier here on the back, as well as leather here. It's just funny. But yeah, really spacious cargo area, pretty easy to access. There's a little recovery point there at the bottom, which is cool. And I love the closing sound, of course. Very solid. And then the new G-Wagon interior is really nice for the material use. It's also a little bit more spacious than before, so you can see here with the seats and everything, really nice. But you've got just as much headroom as before, but a little bit more legroom. It's just a little bit wider in general. Same thing up front here, the material use. And by the way, this base material holds up better over time than the nice like fancy leather with the stitching like this trim here. So just to note, this one does have slightly fancier seats though, not the baseline. Getting in, you just step up a bit, but it's not too bad. Very quiet now with this new inline 6. It's like a whisper. But digital gauge cluster, so that's been updated. You can see here with the controls on the steering wheel, and then again you got that 360 camera. I just have the door open, that's why it's blacked out there. But yeah, this is now a touchscreen. And I forgot to mention, you do have keyless entry on the doors. That's another big change. 3 locking diffs still. You got the new off-road cockpit view, which is just kind of, you press this button in, and then it'll pop up with that off-road information right here. Let you know what's happening with the car. And then you got all your climate controls here. This is pretty similar to before. I mean, obviously the keypad to control the infotainment system a little bit different. And then you got like a fancy headliner with this. Then you got a sunroof up top as well. This particular build's about 160 grand, so this is kind of like your entry level with the new G-Wagon. It's about 160 grand is what you'll see the least expensive one of these sticker for. So let's drive it and talk about things. Well, let us set off in this new inline 6 G-Wagon. I'm excited to review the new 63 to see how the new tech kind of integrates with that version of the G-Wagon. And the 63 ultimately is the most popular version. If you don't know, Mercedes sells about, I think, 1 G550 for every 20 plus 63s that they sell. And whenever I state that to people, people are always shocked because, you know, the 63, it's the AMG. They think that it's like the rare, it's special, but they think it's the rare version. It's like, no, it's the opposite. The G550 is more rare. And Mercedes does it that way because, I mean, literally they're just printing money with those 63s. In terms of how this new 550 drives, it's a weird feeling. The engine sounds like an inline 6. So it's a lot quieter. You don't get that V8 rumble that was, you know, very much so a part of the G-Wagon before. I was saying with the new powertrain, you get this very quiet experience. It's different. And the torque curve is also a lot different. Again, this has less torque than the previous G550, a little bit more horsepower, and you do feel it. You do feel the difference, where this you kind of got to get into it a little bit more. You got to get it higher up into the RPMs. It's not any slower. It's about the same acceleration speed, just feels less torquey. So again, it's just a different driving experience overall. So I wouldn't say it's bad, but it just feels weird. It feels weird for a G-Wagon, if you ask me. So now we'll get into the topic of the video. What's happening with the G-Wagon market? So this is a big powertrain change. So with these new G550s, time will tell. Time will tell. What I've gotten feedback wise from owners so far, because I've talked to some people that own V8 550s, is they don't care about the touchscreen. Like, they think that's cool, but it's not a necessity. They do like the keyless entry. Like, they don't like having to pull up their key every single time to unlock the car. But again, not a necessity. So these additional features, they're nice, they'd like them, but they're not a necessity. The loss of the V8 is a big loss, from what I've heard from them. I went on a test drive with a gentleman that has a 24 550. He was thinking about getting one of these, and yeah, he just I think this person can walk, but they're not going. I'm confused. Yeah, they can't walk. Anyways, yeah, he just wasn't impressed at all. He was super disappointed in the sound and the feel and all of that. So that's kind of what I'm getting feedback wise from that perspective. But that's not the whole thing that's happening with the G-Wagon market. So the 550's new powertrain, yeah, it'll take time to take on, and we'll see if people actually care about the benefits of this powertrain. I think not. I think that most people are probably going to care more about the sound rather than the better fuel economy. 63s, used 63s are not selling. And I've even seen used 63s going for similar amounts to 550s. Now, obviously, sometimes the mileage is a little bit different, years a little bit different, but still, I've noticed a huge softening in the used 63 market. Now, I think that's because people that buy G63s, they just want the newest, freshest. They don't, like, it's a status symbol, 100%. Like, the G-Wagon in general is a status symbol, but the 63 is really a status symbol. And so I think that the used 63s aren't selling because there's a new one coming out, this version, but obviously with the 63. And so there's not as much hype, right? So I think that's what's happening there. But the last thing that I will mention is I do think that Mercedes might have to spice things up with the G-Wagon quite a bit. Not the 63 necessarily, because that's still a cool, unique car, but the 550, because there is, and this is where I'll close the video with, there is a lot of competition in this market, and there didn't used to be. Like, when this new body style G-Wagon came out in 2019, if you wanted to buy a boxy SUV in the US market, your only choice was G-Wagon or Jeep Wrangler. That's it. So if you wanted a luxury boxy SUV, G-Wagon. It's your only choice. Today, if you want a boxy SUV, you've got Wrangler, Bronco. You've got the new Lexus GX550. You've got the new Toyota Land Cruiser. You've got the Ineos Grenadier. You've got the Land Rover Defender. There's a lot of options. And then of those options, like, the Ineos Grenadier is kind of like a G-Wagon, but off-road. So if you just want the G-Wagon kind of looks and you want off-road capability, Grenadier. If you want G-Wagon-ish looks and you want luxury, well, the Land Rover Defender provides that. And the biggest thing to know is all these cars are significantly less expensive than the G-Wagon. So I don't think that Mercedes sees this, personally. I think that what Mercedes sees is the G-Wagon is an iconic vehicle, and it is, and it's a really cool vehicle, and it's in a market of its own. And I would say that that's kind of true, but I think that people don't, some people still buy off of branding, but I think that that's changed a lot over the last few years. I think that a lot of people buy more off of value rather than branding. And so a lot of people see is, oh, I can get a G-Wagon like experience, but at 80 grand instead of 160 grand, right? Half the price. So that's kind of my take on what's happening with the G-Wagon market. So I think that the 63s, the used ones, are gonna probably continue to go down in value because the new one. And again, I'll be patient. I'll see what happens with these new 550s, but I do think that this is going to be something that'll take a little bit longer to catch on in the market with everything that is currently happening in the economy, but also all the competition that Mercedes has with this new G-Wagon. That, again, Mercedes, I promise you, they don't see it as competition, but I talk to a lot of people, and there's so many people that say that they are cross-shopping a G-Wagon with these much less expensive vehicles, not because they're, you know, they're not as cool looking or as nice. It's like, you know, you look at like the new Toyota Land Cruiser, it's got a 4-cylinder in it, not nearly as cool as a G-Wagon, but it has the off-road look. So let me know what you guys think about the whole situation.